Oh, Lyra, there's no room for you. This isn't a village club. It's an expensive restaurant, Mom said with that rehearsed smile she used whenever strangers were watching. The others at the table, my aunts, cousins, and her new city friends, laughed politely, pretending it was a joke. I just sat there, hands wrapped around my teacup, the porcelain warm against my skin. I took a slow sip and didn't say a word. Because if I'd learned anything growing up under her roof, it was this. Silence scares people who crave power. My name is Lyra James. I'm 29, and that day was my mother's birthday dinner. The one she'd planned at an over-the-top restaurant to show her new circle what real class looks like. Apparently, I didn't fit the picture. She'd spent years embarrassed by me. My small apartment, my second-hand clothes, my quiet demeanor. She bragged endlessly about my sister's luxury boutique but never once mentioned the tech startup I built from scratch. When the waiter came to take orders, Mom said lightly, "Lyra will just have water." The laughter that followed was soft and cruel. I smiled, placed my napkin neatly on the table and stood up. "Of course," I said. "Just water." Then I turned, walked toward the exit and paused by the reception desk. I whispered something to the manager, handed over my card and left through the back door. 30 minutes later, when the waiter returned with their food, he carried a silver-edged envelope instead of plates. Inside was a receipt for the entire bill, paid in full by the woman who apparently didn't belong. The table fell silent. I didn't stay to watch their faces, but the restaurant manager later told me that silence had never felt so loud. According to him, Mom froze mid-sentence, fork in hand, staring at the gold-stamped receipt. "Paid in full, Lyra James." Aunt Linda gasped. My sister Mariah muttered something like, "She can't afford this." And Mom snapped, "She probably begged for a discount." They had no idea that dinner cost $2,700, the kind of number Mom used to wave around to prove she'd made it. For me, it was just one invoice. One client. One quiet line of code from a project my company had just sold for $4.6 million. I didn't want to humiliate her. Not exactly. I just wanted her to know what quiet success looks like. That night, I returned to my apartment. Minimal, warm, and mine. I lit a candle, poured tea, and exhaled. But peace didn't last. At midnight, my phone buzzed. "Mom, you think this was clever? You embarrassed me in front of everyone." "Me, I just paid the bill." "Mom, you showed off. You made me look small." That part stung. Not because she said it, but because she never realized I'd stopped wanting her approval years ago. I just wanted distance. The next morning, another message came. "Mariah, you shouldn't have done that. Mom's been crying all night." Crying. The same woman who'd laughed at me in front of strangers. I deleted the message. But by noon, I was on the front page of a local business blog. Young Seo funds mother's luxury dinner. Family unaware of her $1 million startup. That's when Mom called again, this time not crying but furious. Her voice shook through the phone, not from hurt but from anger polished with pride. "Lyra, how could you let that article go out? People are calling me, asking why I didn't know you owned a company." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "I didn't write it, Mom. A journalist saw the transaction record. It's public." "Well, you should have told me," she snapped. "You made me look like an idiot. Everyone thinks I'm some neglectful mother who never supported you." I bit back the words I'd wanted to say for years. "You were Mom," I said carefully. "This isn't about you." "Oh, everything is about me," she said almost proudly. "You think I'll let people believe I treated my daughter like she didn't belong? Do you have any idea what this does to my image?" I almost laughed. My image had never mattered to her, only hers. "Then maybe for once," I replied quietly, "you should work on making your reality match your image." She hung up. By evening, the calls began. Old relatives, former neighbors, her dinner friends. Everyone wanted the story. Then came one message that made me pause. "Aunt Linda. Lyra, I know why she's angry. You should see what she told the reporter." Attached was a screenshot of the interview Mom had given that afternoon. "Lyra's success is my pride," she'd said. "I always knew she'd go far. She just needed my push." My hands shook. She was rewriting history again, pretending the woman who belittled me had been my biggest supporter all along. And I realized something chilling. Mom wasn't embarrassed about the truth. She was terrified people might finally know it. The article spread faster than I could breathe. Headlines called her a supportive matriarch. painting her as the visionary mother who inspired her daughter's rise. In every photo she wore the same fake smile, the one she used before slicing someone with a compliment that sounded kind but cut deep. My inbox filled with messages. You and your mom must be so close. She must be proud. Proud. The word made me sick. That evening I met my business partner Elena at her office. You okay? She asked. I forced a smile. My mom just took credit for my entire career. So, normal Tuesday. Elena frowned. Do you want me to release the original founding documents? They prove you started everything alone. I hesitated. No. Not yet. Because this wasn't just about exposing her lies. It was about showing her what truth feels like when it arrives slowly, like gravity pulling everything fake back to the ground. The next morning Mom called again, her tone syrupy sweet. Lyra, darling, the interviews are helping both of us. You're trending. I think we should do one together. I froze. Together? Yes. Mother and daughter. The perfect story. I already told the magazine you'd love it. You what? Don't be dramatic. It's publicity. People adore family unity. I let out a slow breath. Family unity, I repeated softly. Is that what it's called when you humiliate your daughter for sport? Her voice cracked. Lyra, please. But I was already done. I ended the call, opened my laptop and uploaded something I'd kept private for years. Every message, email and recording of her insults, her manipulation, her truth. Within hours our story changed completely. By midnight the internet was on fire. Clips of her voice, dismissive, cold, controlling, were everywhere. One video spread fastest. My graduation day. A degree in design? That's not a career, Lyra. That's a hobby for people who can't do real work. The comments flooded in like a tide. How can a mother say that? She deserved better. Silence is the classiest revenge. For once people saw what I had lived. No filters. No rewritten versions. Just truth. Raw and unpolished. My phone didn't stop ringing, but I didn't answer. Not even when my sister Claire texted. Mom's losing it. You ruined her reputation. I didn't ruin it, I typed back. I just took off the mask. At sunrise I went to the beach. The same one Dad used to take me to before he passed. The air was quiet. The world was still. I sat on the sand and finally exhaled the weight I'd been carrying for years. By noon Mom showed up at my office. No cameras. No makeup. Just eyes swollen from crying. She didn't yell this time. She just stood there trembling. You destroyed me, she whispered. No, Mom, I said softly. I set you free from pretending. Tears filled her eyes. You could have talked to me, she said. I met her gaze steadily. I tried for 29 years. For the first time she didn't have a response. Just silence. The same silence I'd lived under for half my life. And maybe finally she understood what that felt like. When she left I didn't stop her. Some stories don't end with revenge. They end with truth catching up. The following week, everything shifted. The interviews stopped. The headlines faded. And in their place came a quiet that didn't feel empty. It felt earned. Mom vanished from the spotlight, retreating into her gated life far from downtown. My sister, Claire, texted one morning. She's been quieter. Stays home. Watches your interviews sometimes. I think she finally sees it. I didn't reply. I wasn't ready to reopen that wound. Not even with softness. Instead, I poured everything into my company's next project. A mentorship program for women who'd been underestimated, silenced, or dismissed. We called it Project Quiet Power. When the press covered it, they didn't ask about my family. They asked about healing. And for the first time that word didn't sound impossible. A month later, as I was locking up the office one evening, I saw a familiar figure waiting outside. Mom. She looked older. Her confidence replaced by something fragile. In her hands a small box tied with a ribbon. I came to return something, she said softly. Inside the box was my old sketchbook. The one she'd thrown away years ago because design doesn't pay bills. She looked down, voice trembling. I found it in storage. I kept it. I don't know why. I stared at the worn pages, filled with my teenage sketches. Wild, imperfect, hopeful. Maybe part of you believed in me, I said quietly. She nodded, tears falling freely now. I didn't know how to love you the right way, Lyra. I didn't hug her. I didn't need to. But for the first time I didn't feel anger when I looked at her. Just peace. Fragile but real. Weeks passed and I found myself visiting Dad's old diner back in the small town where it all began. The place hadn't changed much. Still the same cracked red booths, the same smell of burnt coffee, the same bell that jingled when you opened the door. The waitress recognized me instantly. "You're Lyra, right? David's girl." I smiled. Yes, still his girl. I sat at his favorite corner booth, opened my laptop and pulled up the mentorship applications. There were hundreds now. Stories from women who'd been ignored by family, betrayed by partners, overlooked at work. Each message carried a piece of the pain I once carried too. As I read, I realized something quietly beautiful. Pain doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes purpose if you let it. Outside, the world moved slowly. A couple argued in the parking lot. A kid dropped his ice cream. The sun hit the window just right, catching my reflection. Stronger, steadier, softer. That evening, I got a text from Mom. Just one line. "Your dad would be proud of you." No excuses. No manipulation. Just truth. And for once I didn't doubt her. I replied, "Thank you. I hope you're taking care of yourself." No more revenge. No more silence. Just a clean break from the ache that built me. Before leaving, I slipped a note under the counter. "To whoever runs this place now, never underestimate quiet people. They're usually building something extraordinary." Then I stepped outside, letting the door close behind me. The sound was crisp, final, and freeing. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was leaving something behind. I felt like I was finally home. 2 months later, Project Quiet Power hit national news. Not for drama, but for impact. Our scholarship helped 30 young women start their own small businesses, from art studios to software startups. The message was simple. You don't need permission to build your own table. One morning, as I walked into the community center where our new batch was gathered, a volunteer handed me an envelope. No return address. Just my name, Lyra. Inside was a short note in my mother's handwriting. "You were right. Family isn't about pride. It's about showing up. Even when it hurts, I'm learning. Love, Mom." I read it twice, then folded it carefully and slipped it into my journal, not out of nostalgia but closure. Later that day, one of our scholarship recipients, a nervous 19-year-old girl named Hannah, stood up during our session. "My mom says I'm wasting my time here," she said quietly. The room went still. I smiled and made her wrong kindly. The room broke into laughter. The good kind. The kind that heals. As I stood there watching their faces, I realized something. My story had become more than pain and revenge. It had become a map, one that others could follow out of the dark. That night I walked by the ocean again. The water shimmered beneath the moonlight, and for the first time I whispered to myself, "I forgive you." Not for her, for me. Because healing isn't loud. It's the quiet moment when you finally stop needing to win and start choosing peace. I turned my phone off, closed my eyes and smiled.